Come up to the stage.
All right, capturing, shaping the verse, the future of Star Engine.
All right.
Got Ali Brown as well.
Here's the
Will
clicker.
Hain.
Or did you take your own?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
All right.
Oh, I wish I could seen.
Bonjour!
Bonjour.
Bonjour, CitizenCon. We are so happy to be here. It's been so long to see you guys physically and just being able to interact. It's been fantastic so far. We're super excited about all this.
I like the fonts, yeah.
The video you just watched outlined a lot of features in the Star Engine. It's a reminder of what makes this game so special. It's a focus on fidelity. I said it. It's a focus on immersion. And it's a focus on seamlessness, being able to go everywhere and you're just there.
No loading screen.
The accomplishments from the tech teams at CIG have been
I mentioned
numerous
server
in
meshing.
building
Yeah, it was
all the technology that allow you to run the game and allow you to experience the same things that we see in our dev setups. And so what we're about to see today is a deep dive into all these features. But first I wanted to touch really quickly on this last year. We have launched persistence or added persistence. It's been a rocky road this year, and I want to thank you guys for keeping on playing, giving us a hand, giving us good bug reports. It's been fantastic
rocky, but it's been fun.
for us
I don't know what you guys
to
think
improve
about
the
it,
stability of the game. So
was a
thank
lot
you
of
so
fun.
much. You guys deserve a hand of
Investing
applause.
with the game
Thank you
a lot,
so
but
much.
it was fun.
I just want to touch on one bit, which is that all the people you will see in the next couple tech panels are really the best of their crafts in the world. They are infused by a value that we tremendously value at CIG, which is relentless optimism. That this game can be made, that this vision can be achieved. And so, without further ado,
That's what I like. That is what.
but first,
drives
I got
me
one
here.
more thing to say. So, in all of the different panels that you'll see, all the updates, everything that you'll see on screen, whether it's a HUD, an MFD, a ship UI, FPS weapons, everything, all of this is new. So as you watch the clips, you're going to see some differences. That's
Wow.
because this all comes from the freshest implementation that we have. We love open development. We love to show you guys the work in progress. And so that's exactly what we're going to look at
That's
today.
going to be interesting to
And
have a
so,
look at those differences.
without further ado, I'll leave you with Marco, who will show you all the cool and amazing features of our engine and the challenges that we face. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah. Oh well.
Thanks,
I think it's going to
Benoit.
make a
Hello,
difference.
I am Marco Corbetta, VP of Technology, and we're
Italian?
going to talk about Star Engine today. We have been developing Star Engine for many years with the goal of creating an online living universe. But creating a universe is not an easy task, and even more difficult to do everything seamless without any loading screens or invisible walls.
Yep.
And massive spaceships flying very fast, close to the terrain and objects, are pushing the limits of procedural generation and streaming. This is not a single-player game.
Oh, the preview channel
So
is
creating
there.
this universe online is making everything more challenging. We stream and generate physics on server, on CPU, and we already support more
So that's
than
basically what we're
100
doing now,
players
right? Yeah,
on a
100 players on
single
the server with more with server meshing.
with server meshing. To support all this, the engine must do a lot of work every frame. So in a typical Star Engine frame update, we got up to 64
I'm looking at your
hardware
link,
threads,
Explodo.
about 200 software ones, over 700,000 streamed in entities, and millions of entities overall in the solar system. About 150,000 updates per frame. We have over 200 vehicles, spaceships, and ground ones, over 2 million physical objects, over 100,000 objects generated per frame when flying over the terrain. We have many unique locations, streaming on demand in a seamless, gigantic space. Also, we are supporting many new features that we are going to showcase today. I'm going to start in introducing the new and improved
So I'm
clouds and
checking this
fog,
out here.
worked on by custom vendor
Weather.
in the R&D team.
Come on,
The
rain
first
would be
new
quite
feature
cool.
is the light shafts. They are volumetric shadows from clouds cast into the atmosphere. They are truly volumetric and 3D, fully integrated. They are not just a post effect, as it is usually done in games. With this, the atmosphere from an
Oh
overcast
my
sky
gosh.
gets darker. And this is important for planets and locations with
We
bad
are going to
weather.
play Pyro.
Another component
of this
is the
month.
new ground fog. It follows the terrain up to a specified elevation
later.
for different locations. It is also fully integrated into the atmosphere. It receives volumetric shadows from clouds and terrain. It reduces the light scatter into the view ray. And in this video, we are showing all the features combined together.
All right, let's have a look.
In addition,
Oh, with the
we made many
fog.
improvements to cloud shaping
Oh.
to allow for more
So that's
variation and
why
details.
I was thinking that this looks even better, right? That's all of the improvement that they're
The shape
bringing.
noise blending, vertical variation has been improved a lot.
Oh, with the light shot, that definitely makes quite a difference. But these clouds have to be moving, right? Because it wouldn't be fair if the same weather is always the same place all the time.
Also, we made improvements to shorten long distance read, and the tiling is less visible.
Yeah, the tiling is less visible. That's good. It makes the environment look more photorealistic. I mean, it's already looking good right now, but with those improvements, well, that's what Chris Roberts was saying when the reports of Star Citizen being outdated was exaggerated, right? And with the lights. Oh, that is such a difference. Okay, so we're seeing. Yeah, I don't like the graining. Oh,
And-
now we can see the graining is gone. Thank you. Wow.
Best of all, we're going to include all these new features and improvements in the next 3.22 release. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, well, 3.22 is going to be looking quite good. That's good. We got some more devs coming in.
Hi everyone. So I'm Mike Snowden. I'm the director of visual effects.
Oh yeah,
I'm
he's
Ali
the
Brown,
explosions
the director
guy.
of graphics and procedural tech.
He's the explosions guy. He's the guy who loves explosions. I remember
Thank you very
him from
much.
ISC.
Really happy to be here. Really excited to show you. We're going to be showing dynamic fire in Star Engine.
Yeah, all right.
So dynamic fire is a driver for gameplay in both FPS and multi-crew experiences. It creates emergent sandbox gameplay, and it can be used by designers to
Yeah,
craft
I'm gonna
very
have to get a new
dangerous
PC
scenarios
too,
for
Captain
players.
Carrot.
And as you can see from the video, it gets very intense.
Yeah, you don't want to be in that room here.
Okay, so how do fires start in Star Engine? Well, there needs to be a source of ignition, and there are multiple ways in which it can occur.
A gunshot?
For example, weapon impacts or misfires, explosions or damaged items, and the
Grenades?
player needs to be alert to their surroundings with fire and ever-present
Can
threat.
we have flamethrowers as well?
If a fire does break out, you're going to see it dynamically propagate through the area, causing damage to
I'm sure
environment
there
and
will be
player.
I'm sure there will
And
be
at this point, the
arsonists.
player needs to limit the damage, of course,
I'm
by
sure there will be
extinguishing the fire,
people who will just
in
enjoy
any way that
setting
they
things
can.
on fire.
So when doing so, they're going to need to wear protective clothing to protect them from extreme heat. They're going to need to wear a
yeah,
closed
flaming
helmet
effects.
to
Oh,
protect them from smoke inhalation, poor oxygen levels. And there's actually multiple
Same
ways the
for
fire can be
solar fire.
extinguished, including the removal of heat, for example, using the fire extinguisher, which is my personal favorite. It's a lot of fun doing that. The removal of oxygen, for example, locking off the area, venting the oxygen, creating a vacuum. Or simply the fire's burned so fiercely that it's done everything it needed to do, there's nothing left for it to destroy. And if you let it get this bad, it's probably time to consider repairing your ship.
Yeah, or getting a new ship, yeah.
Okay, so how do we achieve this from the technical perspective? Well, the first thing the artists and designers do is they mark up their scene to tell us what physical properties that each surface is made from, whether it's wood or metal. But not only on the surface, we have to describe what is behind the surface. You might see a metal panel on your spaceship, but has it got cladding or wiring behind it? It's important we know all this so we know how flammable it is. Then after this, we have to define all the physical properties that go with these surfaces. So, for example, what the mass is, the energy density, combustion temperature, fuel ratio. And we use all these physical properties and we sum them up in each voxel, which is a 1 by 1 meter cube. And then once we have these voxels, this forms the basis of our simulation.
Well, in England,
a
voxel is an opal as well.
Sources of ignition.
Captain Carrot would know what I'm talking about here.
So here's our debug mode that shows us what's going on in the simulation and is what we use to track it. And you can see these squares enlarging to show us where the fire is spreading. For each of these voxels, we're tracking the fire, the temperature, fuel remaining.
Pablo is going to remove the air everywhere.
And the fire is propagating via convection and radiation, which are both accurately simulated. And it's consuming the gases and producing the knock-on products as well as it goes. And because we're using a proper simulation, like Mike mentioned, when you vent a room, not only are you removing the oxygen and putting the fire out, but if the temperature remains the same, if oxygen is reintroduced, the fire will reignite and it will continue burning, just like it would in real life.
Wow. They have indeed come a long way since they started working on that.
What's next for this? So our focus has been on interiors, in particular spaceships.
You know, I'm dreading the time it's coming into our ships. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm dreading it too.
Next focus is going to be on planets. Obviously, they represent a slightly different challenge, the vastness of them. We have to transfer this over the network and simulate it slightly differently. And we also have to render it at scale. But the way we've done it, the core tech we've used, we should be able to scale this up quite easily. So that's going to be our next focus.
I hope we'll be able to see fires in landing zones.
Okay, so how do we create realistic dynamic fire visuals in Star Engine? Well, we start with the simulation, as just described by Ali. And this gives us the data we need to drive the visuals.
Oh, that's what we saw in the Reclaimer.
Then we bring in the burn shader. So this can be applied to static environments, and we have a lightweight version of the shader for entities, which is kind of based on the dirt shader and where.
None of this have.
Then we've got the glow,
that's real
which is an animated
stuff.
surface decal shader for static
I like
environments.
the have
this
to
is where
move
we
a box.
start to bring in some nice motion. And then we bring in the GPU particles, which are spawning from voxels and in screen space. Obviously, these are doing a lot of the work.
That Reclaimer looks very flammable indeed.
Then we bring in the lights. These are spawned for clusters of voxels as opposed to per voxel as an optimization, a cluster being a representation of voxels close to each other.
And then the fog for the
And then
smoke.
we bring in the fog. So this is height-laid volumetric fog. The smoke fills the room and it goes up to the ceiling before filling the rest. And we're simulating that.
Wow.
So to finish, we're going to take a look at all of that put together in the game. Thank you.
That is crazy, yeah. Look at that in game. Oh, we are taking damage here. Look at the health bar going down. Going to put a little med pen, of course. Pico, yeah, look at he's letting Pico burn. Okay, here's the fire extinguisher. Oh, we can see the temperature. Look at that. There's like a scanner that shows the temperature. Can Pico burn? That's what I want to see. You gotta be very brave to take on that fire. Ah, Pico has burned! Yay!
Thanks very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
We can fight fires. Yeah, maybe you can put the ship on fire on purpose so the friend has something to do, Hayes.
Hello everyone, I'm Will Hain. I'm here to talk about water in Star Engine.
Oh yeah, he's the guy who worked on rivers. That's the river guy.
So, water is a huge part of both of our games, Star Citizen, Squadron 42, and we wanted to give it a major upgrade.
Oh yeah.
We were going to set three ideas that we wanted to impart on our water. We want it to look as good as possible, obviously. We want it to look realistic. We want it to be beautiful.
I want to see
we
waterfalls.
want it to be in motion constantly. It should always be moving and always be reacting to everything around it, whether that be players or objects or vehicles. And we wanted this to work on the whole scales of all of Star Citizen, all the way down from footprints in puddles to enormous ships crashing into the ocean.
And
I'm going
hot
to talk
tubs,
about
yes.
our updates to the water rendering first, and then we'll
where
move
is
on
this?
to that other stuff I
Is that
discussed. So first
Microtech?
of all, the water shaders, particularly the ocean and the river ones, were in dire need of a major upgrade. They were currently
Let's
using a
save him.
technique called deferred shading, which is really fast and fantastic for opaque objects, but does not translate well for transparent ones, which of course water is. So the first step that we made was to transition to forward shading. That allowed us to introduce more physically based techniques, such as proper lighting, reflection, and refraction. It allowed us to integrate the atmosphere properly into our water lighting setup.
Oh man, I would love
And it
to
also
have
meant that we could get
fishing,
more fun techniques, such as
Maybe not
wave
submarines
crest
and
backlight
but
scattering,
sailboats,
and
yeah.
adding better foam rendering, which includes halftone blending, surface haze, and much more detailed bubbles on the individual bits of foam. I've got some examples of that here. In this particular screenshot, you can see the icebergs in the near frame. You can see we're refracting the iceberg underneath. It's correctly refracted. In the mid frame, you can see that the iceberg is reflected back onto the water. That is now accurate. We weren't doing that
Oh
properly
yeah,
before.
that's underwater.
Here you can see our accurate water lighting from this really beautiful screenshot of the Gladius over the water. I love this one. So this is the objects under the water being correctly lit, which is new. And then we are applying the lighting changes from the specular highlights on the surface, and also considering the lighting from the suspended particles in the water, depending on how deep and dense the water is, which gives us this really beautiful
That's
effect.
very impressive indeed.
This screenshot just looks good, but what is going on is that it's demonstrating that the atmosphere and the water are sorting properly. This looks
yeah,
like
look at
everything
how
is
the
normal,
sun
but it's
is
challenging to implement with forward-rendered water.
Look at how the sun
and,
is reflected in that
proper
pond.
ray march clouds like we have in game. Props to Alan, who worked on all of this. I did the next bit. And here we can see the wavecraft light scattering. See how the sun is coming across the back of those waves. It's lighting up the suspended particles in them. It just looks
so
gorgeous.
real.
Here we have the multi-layered foam, and from a distance we have both surface foam and subsurface foam rendering correctly.
Yeah, hey, it's
Looking
absolutely.
really, really nice. I've just got a
never
video
seen-
here
I've
before and
never
after.
seen
First
that
of
in
all,
any other games.
this is our
And that's something that I
lakes
do pay
on
attention
Standard
to.
4. Next we have water volumes on Horizon.
Nice.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
And this last demo, this is a Clio on the Stanton system. This is what it currently looks like in game, and I think you'll agree, pretty dramatic difference. So the next bit that I want
that's
to talk to you,
cold,
that me and
Pablo,
the
on
team
Clio,
of
it's
Planetech and
cold.
Graphics have been working on, is of course water surface simulation. This has been absolute pleasure to work on. So we had a few aims for this. We wanted it to be multi-input. We want physics to influence this. We want our MFX system to influence this. We want bullets. We want everything. We want high concurrency. You guys, it's a
Starfield's
sandbox game.
water
You're going to
is
break it. You're going to
ridiculously
stick
bad compared to
1,000 picos in our puddles. It's got to work. And it's got to be scalable. It's got to work from the tiny scales to the footprints
how
in the
pico
puddles,
is the-
all the
the-
way up
the
to,
standard
as I
unit.
said, giant ships crashing into the ocean. So the technique that we chose for this is a form of surface wave propagation. It's GPU-based, it's highly realistic at a low cost, and it can be scaled for waves of different amplitudes. So we can have
How
all
big?
of that built right in just by
How
adjusting a
big?
few constants.
How big are the
I've got
waves?
a demonstration here. We're going to have the player walking through the puddle. As you can see, as he steps, you get a bigger ripple, but even as he's stepping, the toe is being dragged through the water and moving the water accurately. This is not a cop-out. We're doing this in 3D. You see as I'm jumping. And then this next demo, we're going to fire some bullets. This is a bit loud, this one.
So it does drag you. Oh my. Oh.
Right, the one more thing that we had to look at. So it's all well and good, this working on a puddle, but Star Citizen is not made of puddles. It's made of oceanic planets. It's made of
Yes.
everything. We needed to make this multi-scale. So we wanted the water near
How
and
big
far,
are
not
the waves
just in
going
a
to be?
square around the camera. We wanted lots and lots at once. The solution we picked was a multi-region water sim. Now, this was really, really tricky to get right, but I really think we have now. Which basically means that we can dynamically allocate all of the simulation regions depending on what is colliding where
Can
and
you
what
imagine all the
resolution we need
crazy
at what parts of
machining
the
that
screen.
people are going to be
We
doing
can
after we have
optimize this
that?
very heavily to make sure that you get what you want to see at the right time. We still need to get that information onto the water, though, and that's a bit trickier. So
what's
what we
that?
devised is yet another set of regions. Now, the regions are slightly different. The simulation regions need to happen wherever something is contacting the water, and that needs to happen regardless as to whether you can see it. Because if there's a collision going on there, I look away, and then I look back. If it stops going and has to restart, that looks bad. Whereas the water, we only need to know the total result when it's actually in view. So we have these new regions which cover all water in view. And the beauty of this is that we can use this for multi-input and multi-output systems. Anything can influence our water, whether it be the simulation, whether it be weather, whether it be VFX. And then anything can be affected by water now. So the water rendering reads from this. But then we can also spawn VFX particles from wave crests. We can add screen space effects. We can have a line across your visor. We don't have this yet, but it's accurate to the displaced water in front of you. We've got this technology now, so we can use it to influence any of our work going forward.
Technology that they are
and here's a really good
creating.
video of some of it in action. I'll just let that play. This is the debug mode. Essentially, we're moving a sphere of basically infinite mass through the water.
Okay.
And as you see, if we pan out a bit and we make our sphere a bit bigger, we get a much different result from the sim. Spawning the foam properly. It looks really nice. Really happy with this one.
Yeah, it does make waves. Well, these
So
are
what I'm going
not
to do in a
surf
second
waves,
is I'm
but
going to
still.
turn on the debug mode so you can see where the regions are. You see we've got these grey boxes. They light up green when there is a hit inside the box.
Yeah, that's the place
We've
where
also
they
got different
have
sizes going on. If you look near the shore there, there's a big cluster of text. That is a whole bunch of other regions because there's some stuff floating there causing little ripples that we can't actually see. And as you see, these scale properly. We can add the results from multiple sizes of simulation together, and they influence and interact with one another accurately. You see those big waves crashing over the little sim there.
Running on water would be hard to do.
Hey,
they can do bullets, Captain Carl. It's not different. It's not
I've
that
gone ahead of my
different to a bullet.
subtitles, but I'll just let that video play out.
That is the best water I have seen.
What does that look like when we bring
game.
it all together? What's it going to look like in game? Now, you did see a little bit of this in the Star Engine trailer, but actually, I think this video does a little bit more justice to it. So I'm just going to let that play out for you.
Okay, let's have a look. Oh, yeah. That is extremely impressive. What the Gladius is doing.
Forward in a second. You're going to see the wake start to happen behind us there. And from the cockpit perspective,
the water is splitting on both sides.
Water droplets on the glass, thrown up from the water sim. This is what I'm talking about using multi-output.
That is the real water and not an animation. Same, Captain Carl. I have never seen anything like that.
And that's us. Thank you so much, Sitcon. Handing back over to Ali.
And even does that on the puddle, man. Very
Hello
impressive.
again. So, I'm here to talk to you today about a few other graphical things we've got coming in.
Tears and blood.
I'm really proud of the work we've done on the fire and the water. They both look amazing features. I'm going to talk to you about a few smaller features and a few longer-term R&D features we're coming in on the visual side. This first one, something we wanted for cinematics and telling a story, but also to tie into our active feature system, which is to get the face to tell a little bit more story on our characters. So this blood, sweat, and tears system is something we implemented recently, and it allows us to use a GPU particle simulation, which we project onto the face, and then we integrate it into the skin shader so we can get realistic reflection and refraction of water on your face. And we even make the skin go a little bit redder to simulate the extra blood flow when you're tired or upset.
I'm going to be collecting the tears of my enemies. Yeah, same.
So none of this is a pre-canned animation. It's completely dynamic. We have complete control over everything. We can keyframe every single tear if we want to. And we can even simulate blood like here.
That is cool. That is so cool. Yeah.
So next thing I want to talk about is our scope shader. Design came to me telling me that they really wanted to up the game with our rifle scopes. They weren't quite good enough. They didn't really feel realistic for them.
I can confirm. Anybody who was at the beginning of the stream who saw Elimination when I played Arena Commander can testify.
They used to use these type of fake scope meshes, which you see here.
I want to make my people cry so people will lower the price.
You can see through
That's
it.
not going to work.
Sometimes you put these big black planes around them to obscure your vision. And we put a bit of glass on the front of it, but there was nothing really to tell you.
Hey, Chirp! Nice to see you today. How are you, man?
We've worked on a new scope shader, which is now going to be on all of our scopes moving forwards. And I'll give you a quick show of what that looks like in game.
Okay,
so
there's
first
some
scope
weapons
here. We're going to see it's got an infinite projected red dot scope sight. We've got lens distortions. You can see this little refraction and bending of light on it. Actually, it works when you don't have to be actually holding the rifle for it to work.
Oh, nice.
We've got a correct emulation of eye relief on the scope. So we have the blur, distortions, chromatic aberration.
Very cool.
And then we've also got support for digital displays like this one, which has light amplification.
Also, there's a camera.
And has support for EMPs. If you get an EMP, you're going to have the display's going to get distorted.
Very nice.
So we're quite proud of this. We think it's going to give a much better, more realistic simulation of the scopes in the game. And I think I've kind of mentioned
Hopefully
before,
there'll be less bugs.
it's not a fake effect. It applies to our scopes no matter where they are. You don't have to be using the scope. You could look down somebody else's scope and see the same thing. It's fully integrated into it, so it's really quite proud of that.
322 as well?
Next feature
No,
I want to
they're
talk
not- they're
about,
not telling
hopefully
us.
if any of you have a HDR monitor and you've been playing 320, hopefully you've given a go of the HDR feature. We're really proud of this. It looks really good. And we've got some great feedback from you guys as well. There's been some strong feedback about we want extra black level controls, so we're going to be adding that for you. So make sure you can tweak the image exactly how you want.
Night view,
And there's a
yes.
great user guide on Spectrum as well if you want to know how to get the best out of it, because it's not always a straightforward tech to get the best out of. Just to give you an insight of how this works, we've got something called
I'm
Unified
very
Tone
glad that
Mapping
we're
Curve.
going to have night view.
And this is
That
the process
really
where we map
something that
the
they have
real-life
been-
colors of
players have been
real-life
looking for it,
intensities
right?
of light onto what your monitor can display. And rather than having an SDR mode and HDR mode, we have like a smoothly smooth system where we can blend
Is my
between
PC
SDR and HDR depending on the peak
No, my
brightness of your
PC
monitor.
is not as well.
We also pay a lot of attention to make sure we preserve the colors and the hues to keep
It's
an accurate
okay.
image for the
The
artist.
game will not be
and
released for
especially
many
skin
years,
tones. We
so
don't want
that's
them
fine.
turning red or white or doing anything bizarre. Just one thing to mention, we've got some content adjustments that will be ongoing. We've got a lot of content in Star Citizen. It takes a little bit of time to make sure we balance everything so it doesn't look too dim or look like a
I don't have
supernova.
anything new here on the website.
Next thing I want to mention, temporal upscaling. This has been something that's been asked for a long time, and we're proud to finally get it into your hands. We've got 3 different techniques we're going to be implementing. We've got CIGs. We've got our own temporal super resolution solution called TSR. We've got AMD's Fidelity FX Super Resolution 2, and we've got NVIDIA's DLSS 2 as well. They each have different
Another shot at
and hardware
Starfield that
requirements and
only
trade-offs,
had
so we important to
AMD,
get you
right?
all
That's
3
the-
so you
so
can
at
have a
least Star
choice of
Citizen,
what
they're
you
doing
want to
everything.
look. On the left here, we've just got a zoom in from one of our outposts. That's no anti-aliasing for people that really love to see jagged edges. The center one is our TSA, which is what you've got in the current release today. And on the right-hand side is TSR without doing upscaling. And this is going to be replacing the TSA solution. And this gives us better quality and more stable image and hopefully much less ghosting. We can use our TSR to do upscaling. Here's the example of how it looks at each resolution. And similar results from AMD's FSR.
So that's what we're looking
Some
at when we're
numbers here, which
zooming at
I'm sure you
things,
can
right?
pour over later, but basically we can get about 2 times GPU performance if you're interested in using the upscaling technique. Obviously, if you're CPU limited, you might not get quite them numbers. It depends on your machine. We also intend to look at frame generation techniques like FSR-free and DLSS-free, but these
Have
are
you
going to come a
changed your
bit later.
PC?
We're going to focus on GPU performance,
Yeah,
getting that up
I
first.
can't do that.
Frame
I bought my
generation isn't
PC
really
like a
applicable
year,
unless you've got a really good
a year and a
performance
half
curve.
ago. If I did that, my wife would kill me.
Some other quick updates. We've got the screen space shadows as added to Alpha 320. It gives us some extra
You're worried
detail
about
on our
your
shadows.
370 Ti.
across
Same.
characters
I
and
also
particular
have that
planets.
one.
It helps a lot. And we've also got a new texture and mesh streaming engine that helps us get as much possible detail as we can onto your VRAM on your GPU. And it type of
Feel tired?
does something we
You know
call
what
load
time it is here,
balancing. It will
Captain
scale
Carrot?
dynamically for your GPU to make sure we can
3
get the
o'clock
absolute
in the
best
morning.
possible results. We've also got some more streaming improvements coming in the next release. Just to give you a quick show of what the screen space shadows mean. Here we've got a planet with no
But it
shadows.
still
It's
looks good
Microtech.
with no shadows.
The shadow maps, so you see these, the normal shadow maps that fill in half the scene.
That looks
but then when
better
we get
with
the screen
shadows.
space shadows, you look at
How
the top of the
difference
screen
the
or in
shadow makes.
the flowers, they type of fill in the detail for the rest. They really help type of bed the scene in and stop these things looking floating.
Pablo, you must be in East Coast, right?
Next up, just want to talk about planets for a little bit. It's something I get asked about a lot of what's happening next with planets. So we've got quite a lot of R&D in progress. First thing, we've got 2 new pieces of tech being started recently. First is virtual terrain texturing. It's quite a technical detail, but what this means for you is we're hopefully going to get much less popping or no popping at all. And we're going to achieve this by moving all the calculations to the GPU. and we'll be reusing the same type of patch-based system that Will talked about in
And
his
how
water
are they going to be
presentation.
doing that then?
And it should give you
is-
major CPU savings as well. So we're quite looking
They're
forward to
not
getting this in.
using the GPU.
Another benefit is that it's going to give us the ability to add more
use
complicated
the
logic
servers?
on, so we can type of do more diverse and interesting terrain, like things like, we don't have beaches at the moment, we'll be able to achieve that. And there's other similar things where,
Beaches
based on the
coming.
local conditions, we're able to do more
You
advanced
hear that, guys? We're going to
decision-making.
have beaches in the future.
Next thing we want to look at, which is probably the thing we get asked about the most, is our scattering system, which is what's responsible for putting all the trees and the rocks down in the world. We're going to, again, move this to 100% to the GPU, and that should let us have vastly longer draw distances right up until the horizon and much better performance. So we'll finally get rid of the dreaded pop of trees coming in for you.
Oh, yeah, that looks
We also have
ugly.
to
And when
integrate
you
it
look
with
at
our
that, that's
harvestable
definitely
system, the
much
resource
better than
system,
what we
and
have
the
right
awesome
now.
fire system you just saw a minute ago.
Son of a beach.
Another point is it's going to be a hierarchical-based system, which what that means is we'll be able to use nearby
Well, maybe they're
vegetation
gonna have
rocks
some
to
nice
influence what
beaches
other
on
vegetation
Hurston.
rocks can grow or will show up. And this lets us produce much more complicated rule sets, so we can do things like have a tree that maybe underneath it
I wouldn't
doesn't
want to
have any
swim
grass,
on the
or maybe
cold
certain
waters on
trees come together in
Microtech.
clumps. And we'll get a much more natural distribution of vegetation. And final thing we want for planets is we want to be able to build them much easier, much faster, and we want to make sure they are truly unique. At the moment, our planets are unique. However, they are built from type of tile sets, like pre-built things that get mixed and
there's
matched
that,
together
and
and
there's
blended in
also
complicated ways that you don't
the
see
devs also
repetition.
have to put
But
in
it's
some,
not truly unique, not in the
some
same way that the
hand-
Grand Canyon might be, or the
handmade
River
work as
Nile or
well.
Mount Everest. And that's what we want. So to get that, we need to replicate the complicated natural processes on Earth, like geology, climate, erosion, and these things aren't trivial.
It's,
So we've got
it's
three
interesting that
options.
he's
We've got
mentioned the
offline
Earth
tools,
because
Houdini,
that is the
Terragen,
goal
things like
eventually.
this.
They are going to
We
have
could
to
simulate all
recreate
these
Earth.
processes in the
And
engine.
Terra will be the
But we
first test
started
bed
some
for that.
R&D a few months ago on whether we can use machine learning to do some of this. So just to give you a quick idea of how that would work or how it could work, if you just start with some random input here, it's just like some noise. We run it through a temporary simulation, so we can type of get a more reasonable approximation of simulation at different altitudes and latitudes on Earth. And then what we do is we categorize all this into different biomes. So based on the temperature and moisture, you'd find out what is a desert, what is a forest. And this part is crucial. So this is the input for our machine learning algorithm. We could come up with this
Oh,
image
so
any
they're
other
doing
way.
that
We
with
could
AI
hand paint
as
it as an
well.
artist, or we could just randomize the noise to get a different set of images. And then what we do is we take the large data sets we already have from Earth, from Mars, and from the Moon, and we train it on exactly the same distribution, so biomes, so forests.
It's interesting how they are using
grasslands,
real
and things like
planets
this.
into making it
And
for making
by
their
training it
own
on
planets.
exactly the type of data we get in reality, we can take this and then push just that, and then we can get these lovely height maps out of it that tell us a really realistic distribution. You can see here, this is a height map, so the black areas are low. You can see all the little rivers and valleys, and
And we
this
can
has
see them, yeah.
zero art input aside from this image, which is a very nice result. It's early days. This is based on something called a custom diffusion neural network. It's,
So
like I
we're
said,
not
it's
going to be
pre-trained on
seeing
Earth
that within the
data,
next
and it's
12
been built
years.
up in patches, so it
We are going to
just
see that within the
becomes
next 12 years,
built,
but not the next
and
12
these little
months.
circular patches get like added together, and they to avoid any seams in the image. And just to help you visualize it, I've just put some colorization on it to show you where like snow and
So we
beaches
can see
might
the
be,
features
and
a little bit
wrapped
better.
around a planet to give you a better sense, so it doesn't look quite so abstract. Yeah, but this is very early days, this stuff, but we're hopeful this will be helping the future of how we build planets quickly and efficiently. Thank you.
I really wonder, so what planet are we looking at here? I don't recognize any of those planets.
So the last thing I wanted to talk about today is our Gen 12 renderer and Vulcan.
We haven't heard of
This has
these
been
for a
ongoing
long
for quite some time, taking a lot longer than we would have liked, but we're finally getting to the end of this long journey. For those who don't know, the reason this was being implemented is largely for performance. We're going to be getting at least 2 times better performance on our CPU submission for rendering, which is often the bottleneck for the game, so that will directly,
Wow.
hopefully, translate to performance improvements. We also get better control of memory with advanced GPU features like resizable bar.
So maybe
It
we can
also
finally
opens the
have
door
some
for things
smooth,
like
a
ray
smooth
tracing and new mesh
experience.
shaders.
12
So
years.
we've got a video of a Vulcan
Funny,
running.
Captain
There's
Carrot.
live
Hopefully we'll have a
captured,
smooth
so,
experience on Horizon and Lorville. Zero
ship is
Crusher
this,
said he
but
had
it's,
some issues with Lorville
Yeah,
as
it's
well.
all working fine now. There's a couple of hitches in performance, so we can't quite release it yet, but we're looking into them, the last few performance issues and stability issues.
Looks
and
like
hopefully
Earth, but
we'll
not
release it
Earth.
soon.
Could be Terra.
So, like I said, the one thing, or one of the things we really were interested in by implementing Vulcan was
So
to
they
get
do
support
have
for
Vulcan
new
on their
hardware
PCs,
features.
huh?
And one of the big ones was ray tracing. So with that, I want to hand you over
ray
to Ben,
tracing
who's
is
going to
going to
talk
make the
about
game
some of
look
our lighting
so much
research.
better. The game will look better and have better performance at the same time. That's can't go wrong with that. Oh, interesting blue air. Hello.
Hi, I'm Ben Parry, and this is Global
Oh, that's
Illumination.
Ben Parry. I didn't recognize him.
So, as Ali just said, moving over to the Vulcan renderer, and now that that's fully online, we've got access to hardware ray tracing on the GPUs that have support for it. And the best thing to do with hardware ray tracing would be to create a new, updated global illumination system for us to use.
You think that your 490 is going to melt
Now,
as
I'm here
well?
to give you a fairly early preview of the work that we've done so far. But
How are
first
you
off,
doing,
I'm just
Eric?
going to simplify some things and ask, what is global illumination?
Man, I am so
well, you
blown
can
away
break
by
the
the water
lighting in a
thing.
game
I'm still
down
thinking about
to
it.
3 components. First off, you've got direct
Oh,
lighting.
Pico.
That's not global illumination, but that's
DG
the
must be
sun,
so mad
lights in the
looking at
level,
all
that
those
kind of
Picos.
thing. Next up, you've got diffuse global illumination. Now that's like a whole hemisphere, like a soft lighting that affects the entire, that takes from the entire scene and lights up the pixel. And then finally, you've got glossy GI and reflections. That's like your shiny surface glints, your mirror reflections, that kind
Like
of
if
thing.
there's a
And
faraway
now all
light
of those
that's still
combine
going
together
to
to form one
reflect
glorious
something.
penguin. Now, now, for the rest of this presentation, we're specifically talking about this guy, the diffuse penguin. Glossy GI has actually been disabled in all the videos. Even the old system videos don't show the glossy GI here, just to aid the comparison. First
So
off, we've
here it's
got a
not,
video from Chris
it's
Campbell,
not, it's
who's
not
going to make us
active,
look cool.
right? Oh, that is quite a difference. With ray tracing, oh. Whew. Oh my gosh. Oh, that reflection on the... Oh my god, did you see that reflection here on the frames of the cockpit? Oh. And with the lights, oh yeah. Oh, the hangar. As the hangar is opening. Yeah, I see you guys in the chat. That's what you guys are saying. It seems like it's taking a lot of the of GPU indeed. But I'm sure that they are going to have some optimization that's going to make our experience similar to what we have. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense. My guess, my take here is that they are probably following how technology advances and they're putting that in the game as also people are getting more advanced machines too.
So next up, the boring or the interesting bit.
Yes, I'm going to
how are we
remaster
doing it?
Star
How does the
Citizen
tech
Wars,
work?
but
I'm
not
just gonna
everything, just a few
dig into
scenes.
that just a little bit.
I need to finish
So
it
we're closely
first.
based on AMD's recent paper, GI 1.0. We're probably going to build on top of that, but at the moment we're quite close to it. We ray trace against a simplified world so that we get like smoother lighting for the, since it's a diffuse scene, we want a sort of diffuse, smooth signal.
Thanks
This
so much,
also
guys,
means
for
that we
coming.
get
By the way,
more
we've got lots
rays
of people
per
who came.
millisecond,
That's
which
awesome.
is always
Welcome
good.
to the stream.
And we do generate a lot of probes. So the new system is generating, well, for comparison, the old probe was about 1 probe per room. And the new system is about 25,000 probes that are all on screen at the same time.
Okay,
And
but
we're
how
gonna
many
see that
per
now.
room?
So here's a scene that I've dramatized a little bit just to give trouble to the old lighting system. And this is what the ray tracing sees. So it's a simplified single color per object kind of thing.
That is the kitchen of the reclaimer.
Then we've also got
Lots
this
objects
kind of a
indeed.
3D dictionary of average light values so that the light is kind of shared over things in a similar area.
But I suppose ray tracing will be... I mean, you'll be able to disable that if your PC really cannot handle that.
So
right?
going back to the scene, this is the old system.
yes.
So you'd render a single image from the center of the room, blur it, and then slap it onto the entire scene. Now, as you can see, like the middle of the scene is about the right lighting, but everything else has got the middle of the scene's lighting. Like these red lights at the sides, they're basically drowned out by the table bounce that somehow made it across the room to them.
So
So we want to replace that system with 25,000 probes, each one of them only providing light to a small area around themselves.
And so how does that look?
And then we interpolate that to provide like a smooth bounce. And you can see already in the distance, like the red light is really bouncing up there. And then we add a screen space occlusion pass just to tidy up the edges on things. And there is the final composite.
Okay. I have to admit here that my eyes and my knowledge on the matter is
So what
quite
else does it
limited.
do? Well, because it's real-time generation, it means we can do a real-time bounce, and we can do that with quite small areas. You can get like a really vibrant bounce that picks up off small objects in the scene. Ooh. And that means that the art team can really lean into
You're
like strong
struggling
local
to
variation on
zero.
color.
Yeah, me too, man.
As again, we will see.
Come on, it's 3:13.
So we'll do a side-by-side comparison on this one. As you can already see, like the spotlight's really like throwing stuff into the scene. This is just one light in the room. And we did have live updating, as you can see in the old system, but it was designed for
I
like
don't know
time of
what you
day
guys
changes
think of
rather
this,
than
but
this
this looks like
continuous smooth view.
Looks like a lot of
And
work
finally, it means
for
that we can
some
do things like
minor
glowing
changes. I mean,
surfaces can just
here it
illuminate the
definitely
world without
looks
having to add special lights
more
to fake
clear.
it.
It definitely looks clear on the last mini video there, but it seems like a lot of work for some details.
So yeah, there's two really common cases in Star Citizen particularly that this is going to help with. First off, cockpit brightness. We capture at the moment the...
Oh yeah, it definitely hurts when you know how it looks like, yeah. And then you want to turn it on again. And
At the
then
moment,
you know
we capture that
you have to buy a
cockpit
new
probe
PC after that.
in a setup scene, and then we don't update it as you're flying around. So you're not going to get the sky color in, and you're not going to get the ground color in. And then we've got the opposite problem that I don't have a picture for this, but cargo bays, sometimes they're light, you land somewhere dark, you open up the doors, and now you've just got this weird little light room with nothing spilling out of it.
Yeah, that's
So again,
right.
let's have a video. Oh yeah, so this is the old system. The sun's working, but you can see there's no sky, there's no ground lighting. By the way, I've turned off a lot of the cockpit lights so that you can see this.
So
And then in the new
now-
one, you can already see the skylight is kind of helping a little.
Oh,
But then as you
yeah.
turn over, you get all the ground lighting.
Well, I guess the low flyers were
Yeah,
appreciated.
there's more.
That's cool. Yeah, it is.
See, one of the concerns we had was that we didn't want to create a two-tier system. If people have got hardware ray tracing and it's working for them, that's great. But you can't really have the art team optimizing or seeing for one type of lighting and then having to optimize it for another
Guys,
type
I
of
think they're
lighting
going
and
to
having
address
to
your
trade off
concerns
decisions
here
about the
about
two
ray
of them.
tracing.
So what we've been experimenting with is trying to create a new low bar that's higher than the old low bar, as well as creating a new high bar. And the idea for this is basically to take that single room environment probe system that we have been using,
Captain Exploder.
update
Wait,
it
I
so
think
that
they're
we can do
explaining what
live
they're going to do.
relighting on that, and then to sort of slot that in where the ray tracing would be while still keeping all of the other stuff, like the 25,000 probes and all that kind of stuff. Can look at the old system and we kind of Frankenstein them together. So I'll show you what we've got so far for this. So this is just the old one and the new one so that you can see the problems. Like, just it's overly lit, let's be honest.
By the way, Captain Carol, thank you so much for the sub. All of that
And now this
is
is
going
what
to
Star
go
System
for
would have looked
Christmas
like
for
if we released it on
CIG.
the
More on that
PS1.
after the segment.
The sharp-eyed among
That's
you may
much
have noticed
appreciated. This year
also
we're
the ship
sending
is
a
missing,
package
but you know we can't
to
do
the
dynamic
Montreal team.
objects in this.
And
You'll be
I need
surprised.
all your help for that.
It doesn't seem to mind. And there we have software GI in the middle, which is, yeah, like I say, it was using the same
I just
25,000
noted
probe
your
system,
name here.
but not having to use any
Oh
kind of
my
hardware ray
goodness,
tracing.
Captain Explodo.
As you can see, it's not a perfect match. It's not identical, but it's a lot more dynamic than the old system.
Enough of this. Eradicator, release him.
As you wish.
And finally,
Man, thank you so much, Captain Explodo. Times 3. Your name is getting bigger on the card.
I'm just going to show you a to-do list here. I don't have pictures because it's stuff we've not done. Glossy reflections. Obviously, we
Okay,
want to complete
Pico
the picture.
definitely looks better now.
And for that, we need to handle glossy reflections.
It does look amazing, even if it's the
That's
low bar.
self-explanatory, really. I don't know
Absolutely,
what to say
Steve.
about
That's what I was thinking. Like they've got to
Secondly,
find
you've
a
only
way
seen it
to
on opaque surfaces so
adapt
far.
to
The next
low-tier
step is to
PCs.
extend
They
it
know
so
not
that it can
everybody's got a
support glass
high-end
and
tier,
water and all the other
high-end
transparent things
computer
in the
that's going to
game.
be able to run all of that.
And
So
beyond
that's
that,
why
we've obviously
it must
got
be quite
fog, we've
critical
got
to be
other
able to do
atmospherics.
that.
We
and
want
have,
to
like,
expand GI to
something
make
that
sure
would
that it affects
allow
everything smoothly and
everybody to at
equally.
least enjoy some kind of improvement.
And the final thing is a Star Citizen thing. We've got giant scenes, we've got a ridiculous scale on some things, and we've got plans to make sure that this GI extends to handle that full scale. Anyway, that's all I've got to tell you now. I've been Ben Parry. Next up, we've got Star Clock with Chris Rain.
Nice. Damn, I drank so much water, I really want to pee.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi. I am Chris Rain, and I would
There are
like
so
to
many
show
Chris's
you
at
not
CSG. Every time
one,
there's a
not
Chris who
two,
goes, there's another one who
but
comes.
3 new physics of our physics engine. And I would like to start off by introducing Star Cloth, our new character cloth simulation with a
Oh
short
man,
video.
that's the meme. They've been, when you see like
So this is just regular
Eurogamer,
player movement. That was
Kotaku, they
actually
always make
me
fun of
playing.
the player
You
cloth,
can see
right?
the cloth collides with the ground.
Chris is in gaming as CIG.
You can see multiple layers of cloth that do not interpenetrate.
The damn medical gowns.
Cloth gets influenced from wind.
Whoops.
And has accurate collisions
And
with the
that's how
player's
we
body.
can get you see your underwears. Socks confirmed. Yeah, we don't have socks in the game, right? I think he did, yeah.
We now have support for collisions from dynamic objects.
Footballs in the game. Footballs confirmed. He's got a
You
massive
can play
ball.
football in any outfit.
Oh, it's getting higher. It's getting higher here in that medical gown.
Starcloth supports the full range of motion a human
Look
can
at
make,
the new
from
hair.
fast movement
Facial
to
hair.
extreme poses.
There's facial hair. Did you see? He's got facial hair. Massive balls, yeah. Yeah, but did you see he has facial hair? Star clothes. Of course he named it that, yeah.
Starcloth is designed to be a first-class member of our physics engine. It interacts with everything we have to offer, from character movement over forces like
name.
wind, thruster backwash,
Starcloth,
explosion
I
to
love the name.
projectile impacts and collisions.
So explosions
It's efficient. It always updates at 120 FPS, regardless of the frame rate, and is hand optimized. It's immersive and
120
believable. It's a realistic simulation based on physical properties. It's high fidelity, high quality. We want to raise the bar with this. The visual geometry you see on the right is complex and not suitable for simulation. The visual geometry is made with
that's
visual
on the right, right?
quality
It's
in
just-
mind, and that does not translate well
So
to
that's the
simulation.
regular clothes
so we
we have right
decided to
now.
add the ability to use bespoke meshes
Oh
that
my
are made
gosh,
to
I recall.
simulate well and let their movement then deform the visual geometry. This allows us to share the same sim setup across multiple visual meshes, which is a huge productivity boost for TechArt. We can seamlessly blend the simulation on and off, so we can disable the simulation at a distance.
Thank you, Eric.
Back to the football. Everything that is dynamically
can we play football in a
simulated
game?
is able to interact with the cloth, from ships over crates, boxes, and even footballs.
Yeah, this is like the game we see
We
in the patch
ensured that the
trailers, but this
collisions
isn't a
are
patch.
accurate
But
and believable.
some of it is eventually going
As
to
you can
come.
see in the image, the football parts both layers of the gown. The cloth itself supports self-collisions, which means it will create folds and wrinkles, but not interpenetrate itself or other layers of cloth.
Nice. Because that's a
The same
problem that we
applies
have
to the
right now,
static
especially the
environment
leather
as
jacket
well.
you can buy
The
right
cloth
now
will drape
at
itself around the
Greenmax.
environment.
Well, that's a big problem
So
with
brushing
how
up
it
against
collides
objects
against itself.
will result in the behavior you expect. We added tapered capsules to improve collision detection accuracy. A tapered capsule is a capsule which has two different radii at the endpoints. Human anatomy is complex, and we need to accurately represent it for collisions. The traditional capsules we use on our ragdolls lead to jumps in the collision surface. Now, notice how there is a jump between the elbow and the lower arm, and another jump where the forearm connects to the hands. These jumps pose significant problems for our cloth simulation. If you look at the upper torso, you can see the collision proxies are actually completely hiding the cloth, and they're essentially completely useless.
It's something that we are seeing right now in the game, especially this.
So now
it's also
notice the
having
difference
an issue with the
on
armor
the same
too,
body
and the
represented
suits.
with tapered capsules. We can now faithfully represent the hips, legs, and arms of the character. An additional benefit of tapered capsules is that the collision detection is significantly faster than with regular capsules.
These are small details.
Currently, we're only using them
a lot of
for
different body types. I guess we're not seeing that, so it's not going to come anytime soon. But it's definitely something we should request.
We simulate the cloth always at 120 FPS or 120 Hertz, regardless at which update rate the game is running at. We do this to be faithfully able to detect collisions with a fast-moving character. As we're simulating at a higher rate than the game updates, we have to interpolate the joint positions between updates we get from the game. At each simulation step, we perform collision detection, simulation, and update the cloth sim cage. Now, if the game is running at 120 FPS, we do one update for the cloth simulation. If the game updates at 60 FPS, like in the image,
but I don't
we
think
simulate
this is
the
something
cloth
that they're going
twice.
to be doing right now. But with that tech,
now, if
it's
the game
definitely
runs
something that
slower,
they could be
like
doing
at
now.
30 FPS,
It's going
we
to
need
make
to
clothes
update the
more
cloth
flexible than
4
they've ever been.
times. You can see this in the image. It becomes apparent that we need to make the cloth run as fast as possible, and we spent a great deal of amount of time optimizing this with various techniques, including handwritten vectorization and using every trick in the optimization handbook. The effort pays off because we can faithfully capture very complex movement and fast-moving characters, even at low frame rates, without any clipping or
4 years
tunneling.
ago at CitizenCon 2018.
Thank you. One area that poses a significant challenge for character cloth is when multiple pieces of garments layer on top of each other.
I can already imagine,
like a tight-fitting
Kotaku,
jacket
Eurogamer,
that lies on
all
top
those
of the pants,
IGN,
as you can
all
see
those
in the image
annoying
above.
news media outlets.
This is
on
a
video
very
games. They're all
difficult
talking
region
about
to simulate
All-Star Citizen
properly
is wasting
because
their
you don't
resources
have
on
much
clothes. I
space,
can
and the
see that coming.
simulation collisions have to be absolutely accurate.
It
This,
is a great
what I'm
improvement
going to
indeed,
show you is a very subtle
Back to
effect.
the bedsheet
But once you
articles.
notice
Yes,
it,
Captain, we're
you
gonna see
cannot
those
stop
again, I'm
noticing
sure.
it. I want to focus
We're
your
gonna see the
attention
articles
to
about
the
the
waist
sweat
region
also.
of the character. Here we tweak the simulation settings in real time to see the effect.
Oh.
Here you see
There it goes, scoring 42.
a rendering with a high-fidelity cloth disabled. And here the same scene
Admiral
with it
Bishop.
enabled.
Nice. Oh, yeah. Oh. That is a big difference indeed. Even the pants.
To be continued,
That was sending out
tomorrow Much more can be seen about star cloth in the character advancement panel. Be sure not to miss out.
Oh, they have star hair as well.
Next up, star hair.
No way.
Currently, we have the ability to simulate the effect of moving hair with joints that are essentially
Star
simulated
everything, yeah.
pendulums. The hair is skinned to these joints, and when these joints move due to the pendulum simulation, the hair moves with it. This leads to a fast and believable movement of hair. However, the quality is directly correlated to the quality of the skinning, which is tedious for tech art to
I want to get
achieve for some
Storm 42. I want
complex
to play it, you know,
hairstyles.
while I'm still working on
Further,
server meshing,
apart from
finishing
gravity,
server meshing,
the
playing
pendulum
Storm
joints
42, having fun
do
there,
not react to
absolutely.
external forces like collisions or wind or explosions. So we asked ourselves, can we somehow improve upon this? And I'd like to show you some early prototype results of our research.
Okay, so that's just research right now.
This is an image of the raw geometry you saw in the previous image. You can see many strands
very
of
thick,
hair,
yeah.
and we thought to ourselves, maybe we can simulate all of these strands. This is a single strand isolated from the rest. As these are simple triangle meshes, we initially thought we could
they
simply
delayed it to
use
put
our
on
cloth
consoles.
simulation
I hope not.
and
hope
simulate such a strand like a sheet of cloth. That didn't work out at all. It turns out hair does not behave like clothing.
No, it does not. It's much lighter, that's the thing.
Also, the sheer number of strands and their individual triangles and vertices are simply too much to simulate efficiently, even for our highly optimized cloth engines.
So, how are they going to do that?
We realized then that our artists are actually using splines to create these strands. And a spline is a smooth curve or line through space. You could see that in
we
yellow.
remember the splines when we
and
had
we
to
thought maybe we
land
can
at
just
landing
simulate
zones with
these.
splines.
They're much
Oh,
simpler.
they're not the same.
So, and hair simulations need to be able to maintain the original hairstyle. You cannot have the hair
Oh, you want to see
simulation
Squadron 42 on
change
console,
the
Captain
visual
Clark?
appearance of a
I'm
character.
not so sure about how the
One of the
community will feel
reasons
about
why
that.
using the cloth simulation for hair did not work out at all is that the cloth only simulates vertices and they have no concept of orientation. So you do not know how the next segment has bent in relation to your current segment. In other words, you cannot easily simulate twist with vertices alone. For splines, however, that is very easy to do.
Oh, so
So
they are going to be using splines.
All
Lots
of this
splines.
together allows us to simulate the strands according to the theory of Cosserat rods. A Cosserat rod allows you to model the behavior of slender one-dimensional rods, exactly what our splines are, and simulate bend, twist, stretch, and shear, exactly what we need. Hair also needs exact collision detection to not intersect with the head, the ears, the cheeks, the jaw region.
Or anything else, yeah.
The video I'm about to show you is some very early prototype footage of how such a simulation actually looks like.
Oh. What? As a bald guy, it's a waste of time. Hey, you can always get a wig in a
So
game.
this is a test of various head movements to see how the hair reacts. Hair simulation is
Hey,
one of the
metal,
hardest things
headbanging
to simulate, especially in a real-time context.
Star hair.
And very tricky
That's what
to
it
get
is.
right.
It is star hair.
We're actually simulating all the hair strands.
It does collide a little bit. I'm just nitpicking. That is indeed very impressive.
So we will have characters being able to run their hands through their hair and have the hair react realistically.
Wow.
A barber simulation next.
Perhaps. So that's gonna be working with our hair, facial hair too, can be.
Actually, being a bald man, this was very touching moment for me when I made this video.
Barber career.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's funny, by the way, Hayes, that you made this remark, because the dev also said that too.
Next, I would like to introduce Maelstrom, our physically based destruction system. And I would like to do that with a video that I believe speaks for itself.
So that's the part where they are. We'll see the destructible environment. Oh yeah! How it's all collapsing in thousands of pieces. Oh, that's so cool. A2 someone's farm. Oh no, Captain Explodo is going to explode everything. You don't need an A2, just a few bullets like that. Well,
see the water splashes?
Yeah. Yeah, those water splashes are awesome. Actually, Captain Explodo, you just made me want to see what an A2 would do to that place. Like,
we want players' intuitive
air,
prediction of the effect a weapon or a collision has to actually happen in the engine or in the game. So we decided to move away from hit point pools or other abstract models to simulate damage, but rather have damage be calculated from a physical model and from the physical material properties of each entity. If something breaks off due to its structural integrity decreasing below a certain threshold, Maelstrom allows it to break off in a realistic fashion. If you shoot off a wing, the missiles and weapons on that wing should still remain attached. If the broken off part still has power, electric items should still function. This means Maelstrom was needed to be designed to work with a hierarchical setup to begin with. From the hierarchical representation of the geometry we want to break off to the same hierarchy on a higher level item for items like power plants, lights, weapon systems,
I think that with
and so on.
persistent entity streaming, Steve, it's just going to be wasteland.
Maelstrom is persistence and networking ready. We designed it from the ground up
with a dynamic
to work
economy, maybe NPCs
with
will
high
rebuild,
latency
and there will be maybe missions to rebuild. I don't know.
To persist and
repair structure
easily.
missions, of course. Yeah, I see that. I see that happening, and I see that with NPCs doing that too.
To achieve all this, we gave each physical geometry instance an identifier to be able to uniquely identify it within the universe. So your Gladius wing is your Gladius wing. We added physical material and damage properties that can now be replicated across the network. One of them, and that's the most important one, we call integrity. And this determines how much structural or internal integrity a physical geometry has. Integrity is modified from dissipating, or rather absorbing energy from kinetic impacts or energy weapons, and also in the future from absorbing energy from external factors like extreme temperature or fire, as you've seen before. We also track which physical part or geometry
I'm sure that will find the right balance
belongs to which visual geometry and which high-level entity.
I agree. It needs to be gamified.
If the structural or internal integrity collapses, we know which visual geometry is affected and which item might be affected as well. So a power plant will cease to emit power or implode, explode. A weapon will cease to fire, and so on. To make things break apart, we create what we call breakable clusters. A breakable cluster is a set of physical geometry, the visual geometry, and the entities on top that can break off.
I would like to see a little video to show us the difference
breakable
between
clusters, we
this
create
technology
abstract
and what we have
cantilever
right now.
beams to be able to model stress and strain. I'll go into more detail in that in a bit. Breakable clusters are hierarchical. They mirror the hierarchy of all attached entities involved. They also embed the hierarchy of all animated joints. And they also embed the hierarchy of all physical geometries. They essentially represent a ground truth of the entire hierarchy necessary to perform all our goals for Maelstrom.
When I look at pictures like this, I'm glad I'm not an engineer.
Showing a breakable cluster graph of the Gladius. I'd like to show one more
That's what the audience is doing as
Maelstrom
Citizen
before we
Connect.
continue.
Oh, yes, Captain. Yes, for munching. That's right. It is indeed something they need for munching. Did that Gladius just crash? Oh. And Pico is there.
We needed to find a good way to easily and efficiently determine when a breakable cluster
crazy,
breaks.
you know, how that ship just
We chose a
crashed and
well-established
destroyed
model
everything.
from material sciences and structural engineering, cantilever beams. In essence, a cantilever is a structural member that has a fixed support and a free end. Forces experienced on the free end can be used to calculate the amount of stress the fixed support is enduring. The basic ideas behind that are best explained from a very simple example. If a ship were to collide with the horizontal part of the crane in the image, far from the vertical part, the fixed support would endure a higher stress as if the ship were to collide closer to the vertical part. But not only does the point of impact determine how much stress the cantilever beam experiences, also how large the surface area is connecting the cantilever and the fixed support has a large influence on when a cantilever beam will break. In our case, this actually means we analyzed the cross-section of the intersection of the set of geometry from two breakable clusters to calculate the surface area. A wing attached to the body has a rather large connecting surface area compared to the surface area calculated for the stabilizers connected to the body. We then project forces from impacts and explosions onto these cantilever beams and calculate the stress the beams experience. Over time, this stress turns into strain, and if we reach a certain threshold, the beam snaps. The result, simple, efficient, and deterministic breakability. But this is not just about ships and buildings that you saw in the videos before. We want Maelstrom to be a systemic system that we can use on all types of entities. So here's some video of some test footage of AI shooting each other behind breakable cover and Maelstrom barrels.
Loving the ragdoll effects on these Star Citizen characters. Oh yeah, these barrels, they are definitely taking some damage indeed. Now, not so much the wooden pallets. Do you notice some of the armor is actually quite new? The
Physical material properties
no, I haven't seen Valerian,
influence damage and breaking and have a direct influence to how things break and fracture. To achieve this, we added various properties: density, yield strength, resilience, thickness, toughness, Young's modulus. And
so
this is more or less what I wanted to talk about Maelstrom, but I don't want to leave without showing one more video of what carnage Maelstrom can create.
All right, please bring the A2. Sounds like the A2's coming. No, it's not. Oh, those two gladiuses that crash into one another.
So,
And you got the part at the end that just falls. That's so cool. Yep, they
so
did.
thank you very much. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Benoit.
Back to Benoit. And they don't take a pee break.
Thank you. All right. I am not this person, but I'm filling in with him. So far, I mean, you guys think this is going to change your game up to now?
Yeah.
All these new features?
Oh, yeah, these are game
Hell
changers.
yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we've seen
muching and
updates
physical
from
damage will be a thing,
fire,
for real, yeah.
water. We've just seen force. We've seen sun and light. So the next thing that's left to build a ludicrous space game
It's
is
already
audio.
As if it's
And
not
so I'll leave
ludicrous
you with
enough.
Graham, who's going to show you some of the new audio enhancements we bring to Star Engine to make it even more realistic than it is now.
Hi CitizenCon, Graham here. Good to see you. Recently in the audio team, we've been looking at how we can create a greater psychological
audio,
connection
no.
and emotional impact within our games through the use of improved audio technology. Audio can play a crucial role in the immersion of the player. And with that in mind, the audio code and technical sound design teams have been looking at all of our tech from the ground up. For example, when you're under threat, you should feel a real sense of danger. When you're armed, you should feel the dangerous power that you hold within your hands. Earlier this year, we showed you our resonance tech,
Yes,
which
they
allows
did.
us to bring the action much closer
No, they
to
did
the
that in
player,
Inside
even when
Star
they're
Citizen,
deep in
right?
the bowels of a ship and far away from where all the hits and the explosions are happening. But that's just one part of a much larger push to create a better, more immersive audio experience. With that in mind, let's take a look at some of the tech we've been working on.
All right.
First,
Or maybe
let's listen
hear.
to some of our weapon sounds in action.
Oh. What gun is this? That's the LH-86? I mean, it's already good without
They're
the
a
new
great
audio
simulation, but we wanted to take them further and express the sound pressure, the forces being exerted. Our new in-house audio effects, particularly the multiband compressor, tuned by our sound designers, give us this result. The compression
I think they're
serves
going
to
to
illustrate
redo the
the power of the
LH-86.
weapons and the effect that they have when going beyond the limits of the listener.
Star gun effects. Oh.
Let's show you the same audio effects applied to the ship weapons, taking us from this
Isn't there supposed to be no sound in space?
to this.
Oh. Oh. Okay, I want sound in space now. Whew.
But it's not just about feeling powerful. Changes in audio can create a sense of danger, of being out on
did you
your
see-
own
look
and
at
under
the-
threat.
the
Here's an example
Look at
of
the
ship
UI
combat.
above the MFDs. That is worth a video in itself. The
Sounds
new-
good. But
the
what
new
if we
UI.
wanted a little more realism?
With no sound in space? Or very little?
The audio propagation tech that we've been rolling out makes it easier to change the soundscape in real time, and a nice use of that technology is to provide a more realistic option.
So they are going to remove the sound in
Here,
space
your own
with that
weapons
new
resonate
tech.
through the hull of the ship. Only what's in the pressurized cockpit is heard clearly, and the threat level feels higher due to the isolating lack of enemy weapon and ship audio.
Yes! So we only hear what's inside of our cockpit, basically.
Making these changes creates space in the audio, both spectrally and temporally, making impacts seem bigger, more damaging, more of a problem for the player.
So these are basically the vibrations that our guns are doing on our
This
ship that we hear
realistic
in the
mode
cockpit
isn't
and
limited
the
to the
impact,
flight
and that's
experience.
it. No
it's
more
applied
pew-pew, and that's
appropriately to
good.
the game as a whole. Here's an FPS battle in a depressurized area.
Ah, there's still some sound. But much less.
With realistic mode, we get that sense of isolation again, giving the location a different colour and adding variety to the audio experience.
Did you hear the voices too? They're like, oh, they're screaming.
Player breathing and foley are exaggerated, and other sounds are transmitted through physical contact.
Please bring in those sounds. I need those voice effects.
That's all from us for now. We look forward to getting these new audio features into your hands.
I love that.
All right. Hello, everyone.
Oh.
So, persistent entity streaming, replication layer, and beyond. My name is Paul Reindel. I'm Director for Online Technology. And I'm going to show you a little bit insight in our technology for persistent entity streaming and the replication layer. I thought about what's the best way to show you something about that tech. And I thought about putting some technical drawings on the slides, or maybe show video like we did 2 years ago. But really, the best way to show you how persistent entity streaming works is to give you a live demonstration.
Yes.
And that's what I'm going to do.
Ah, nice.
All right. So this will all be live, so please bear with me if there's any glitches.
Well, hopefully the game will not crash. No 30K error.
So let's keep this rolling. I think I'm supposed to press the button. No, it's already switched. Before we start, a little bit.
Yeah, right. Well, who knows? Maybe the sandworm is confirmed and will come one day.
Let me set up everything.
Lear 2? Yeah, that's Lear 2.
One moment.
Well, by the time he starts
the
game...
So on this left side, you will see my client window. And on the bottom side, you will see the server renderer. So for this demonstration, and I start a second client, I'm just...
I was going to go to that.
Stopping that. Sorry about that. This is live. All right. So again, on this side, you see the client.
Okay, that's an interesting new error here.
And he just logged out because I started a second client. So let's do this again.
Okay, by the time he starts, I'm going to take a quick pee-pee break. I'll be right back.
On this side, you see the server renderer, which is currently, it has nothing streamed in. I'm showing a small demonstration level. And on this side, you see the entity graph, which is our online database. That's powering what you see in persistent entity streaming, what you play since 3.18. And I also have some metrics on the screen which shows the entity graph worker, the requests per minute, per second, the mutations, and you also will see entities created and destroyed once I do that. All right, so let's wait for my client to come up and join this level. So the first thing that will happen when I join this level, you will see on that server, everything streams in, and my client gets connected and also streams in everything on the client view. What would happen on the behind the scenes is that my player just got unstowed into that chart, and we at real time created everything for this player. So you will see his body is attached to the player. You will see his mobi-glass, his head with all his customizations, his undersuit, and then all his customizations
I couldn't hold it
as well
any longer.
What you also see is that this player just got unstowed and attached to a static zone object container.
Ah, that's when you leave the game.
And this is how our zone system works. Basically, on the server, you will see 3 different zones, purple, green, and red. And each zone comes with its own coordinate system and its own physical grid. And this is how we actually, on live, do zone transitions between your ship, empty space, space station, or a planet.
Oh, so that's how it looks like in their
and
system.
You will see, as I walk between those zones, I will, at real time, update it in that entity graph.
But
and this all
when you are
happens
in the game,
seamless.
it's
So
all
for a
seamless.
client, it's
There we
completely transparent. You don't notice that. But this is actually what's happening when you step in or out into a ship. And this is very unique to our engine. No other engine has this zone system. And that allows us to do all the amazing stuff you saw in the videos before, transitioning in and out of planets and go from the smallest scope to the largest scope.
And so when we're going to have server meshing, basically one of those zones is going to be their own little server.
In a shard, so this is like a mini level, like the mini PU level, is also persisted in this database. When we create new entities in our engine, in Star Engine, those entities get pushed into our entity graph, into our online database at real time, and then from there replicated to our client.
It's going to be more unfortunate if they sell it to
other
other
studios
studios as well.
And spawn a couple of plushies here, you will see they spawn, they get created immediately on my entity graph and replicated on the server and on the client. So spawn a couple more here.
Oh, so many pico sounds.
And you see this, the pengus I spawn in the other zone get attached to the other zone. And then if I go and transition one of those,
very good,
they will also transition between the different zones.
Very good. That's
and
what
the
you should
same
do.
works for ships or more complex entities. If I spawn this buggy here, you will see this one gets created with all its attachments and everything else attached to it.
Now, what's the limit of all those entities?
Just my small demo level here. On live, we have up to 600,000 dynamic entities that get created for one single chart. And this is just the initial state.
Okay, well,
after 2 weeks, 3 weeks of gameplay, when you guys go in and destroy stuff, spawn stuff, play around, it goes in the millions of entities.
Millions!
So this in itself is pretty amazing tech. The next time I want to talk about is our streaming system. Most engines do stream on texture or geometry. We actually stream entities, and we do stream persistent entities. So when I turn on the streaming system here and I walk into this, if I walk over to the red area, you will see that the purple area will stream out together with all the entities on that server. So it does not only stream out on my client, it actually streams out on that server.
But when it comes back,
when I come back in the green zone, that purple zone streams back in with all the entities in there with their full persistent state. So now I have a second player joined. Benoit is going to join me. So Ben, if you want to join, okay, I think we see him over there.
Oh,
hey Ben.
He did not activate VoIP.
Sorry. Nice. All right, I'm going to spawn a couple more penguins here. Because the next thing I want to talk about is new technology we are right now developing and we are about to put on the tech preview for you to play.
The replication layer?
And this is actually the replication layer split. And that's the big next step in our great vision, obviously, as you might know. So in this demo, my client and my servers, they are no longer directly connected. Actually, I have a new service running here, and that is our replication service.
Okay, so it's a copy of this server.
So my client is connected to this replication service, and my server is connected to this replication service. And the replication service, the sole purpose is to get all the entities which are in the entity graph and stream them to clients and servers which are connected to. And what's really cool about this is, let's do a little experiment here. I mean, you all know our game has bugs. It's still alpha, and sometimes things can happen. So let's see what's happening when I kill my server here.
Okay, so it's going to get a 30K. It's basically a 30K. It's making a 30K for himself.
And yes, this is where you would usually see a 30K or something. You can see Benoit kind of froze there for a bit. And the buggy does a bit weird stuff. I can shoot those pingus, but the world is really in a frozen state right now.
Yeah.
But I didn't disconnect, because I'm connected to the replication layer and not to the server anymore. In the meantime, I'm just starting a new server. Let's be a bit patient for it. It should come back online in a second.
And he will keep on playing.
And as you can see, now that the server came back,
the end.
It restored
you
the
guys
state
on the channel for a month now. I've said that on my videos. It is the end of the 30K errors. Yes!
It restored the state, and the simulation just continues to work as before.
The days of the 30Ks are counted.
Again, this is very early tech.
And that is great news.
This is a great benefit of what we have with our replication layer split. But there's one more thing.
Okay.
And let's try this thing again. I just killed my server, and I'm trying to do that again. But this time, we're doing something different. So let's first go in here. This is my development tool. I can talk about it in a second. So let's stop that server again.
So they're killing the server. Okay, so his friend's going to freeze.
Restart.
I don't think the replication layer will crash because
this will take a little bit.
There will be nothing in there.
I'm running this tool you see here. This is our internal development tool. This tool runs the entire stack of our game.
This is the end of the 30K errors that we were looking at.
This is obviously for development only, and I can do that with my small test level. But this really helps online devs and all people who work on the incredible, complicated tech we
So the replication layer
to be able to develop
will
our
make
game.
a replication server, which you are going to migrate to.
Because I run everything on this
if
PC,
your
it's a bit
server
slow.
crashes.
So let's wait and see what's happening.
So there's just going to be a little freeze of 5 to 10 seconds, and then boom, you are another server, and you're doing exactly the same thing. Wonderful.
All right. Simulation
Star
continues.
replication
I can see Ben moving again. Hey, Ben. However, what just happened? Well, as you can see on my screen, I no longer have one server connected. I have 3 servers connected to this replication layer. So what you guys see here, this is the very first version of a working server mesh.
Oh! There we go. So could that mean that server meshing will be coming soon after
So now I'm
replication
going to
layer?
explain a little bit how this magic works, because it is truly magic. Each server, when it came up and the replication layer realized there are 3 servers, we assigned different zones to those servers. And we said, okay, server 1, you are the authority over the purple area. Server 2, you are the authority over the green area. And the last server is authoritative over the red area. You can still see that those servers have all those entities replicated, but only the entities within their zone are actually authoritative on that server. So while I'm in this green zone at the moment, my entity is simulated on that green server and just replicated on the other server.
That's what they've been saying they will be doing in their final.
And now, as I transition between those zones,
that's amazing.
You will see that on that green server, I just lost authority, and on that purple server, I just gained authority. And because my player was replicated on both servers, this completely works seamless. And again, let's do that a couple of times. You see on my client here,
and we can even see the other player on the other server.
This
awesome.
all happens behind the scene. And this doesn't work only on me. Let's turn on the zone colors and the object, the authority assignment on the client as well. you can see that even entities, as they transition into the other zone,
yeah, you can also
seamlessly
contact yourself with the server. Yes, so
to
if
that
it's your
zone.
internet, you can have that too. Yes. But most of the time, at least from my
And
experience,
not
most of
only
the time it's
that,
the
I can also
CIG
interact
servers
with
that crash.
entities
It's often
that are
like
on the other
this.
side. So if I go
But yeah, there can
on
be
the
other
green
causes. You're
zone,
right,
for
Eric.
example, and I shoot this, I can still shoot that purple entity.
Yeah, exactly. You can shoot from one
And I can
server to
also
another,
just go
and that's
ahead
what's
and
going to
destroy that
enable
buggy
also
which sits on
large
that other
battles,
zone.
capital ship versus capital ship.
There you go.
There you go. He was in another
Always fun
server,
to blow stuff
shoots
up, right?
to another server, and still blows it up.
All right. So there's more to this. The first thing I will do, let's spawn a fresh buggy. I just destroyed an old one.
Okay.
When I go into this buggy,
The buggy can be its own
I will
server.
become part of the aggregate, and that means that now my buggy and myself will transition authority together. And this is how we make sure that my player, while he's driving this buggy, is always authoritative on the same server. So you can see, as I drive around with this buggy between the zones, I will switch between the
Yeah,
different
we can
servers.
see that in the little graphs.
All right. But there's more to this. So remember when I turned on the streaming earlier? The same streaming mechanics work here as well. Like, obviously, in this example right now, you can see all those servers, they have all those entities replicated. And it's a little bit wasteful because you have 3 servers, all need to replicate all those entities. And that's where streaming come into play. I can turn
So
on
with the
streaming
replication
here,
layer,
and you
we
will
can
see that
have server
suddenly
meshing already.
my purple server no longer has the red area.
Like the
streamed
simple
in.
ones.
And the red server
Which is
no longer
why
has
they're
the
bringing
purple area
Pyro
streamed in.
on the
So
separate
let's see what's
servers
happened
at the end
when
of
I
this
drive my buggy backwards into that red, into the red zone. What happens on that purple server? And I just disappear. So right now, on this server, there's only Benoit replicated. And Benoit, if you come to me over in the red area, you will see that now on this server, there's no client at all. And in theory, we could now completely stream out the entire
He
area.
has joined another server
or
seamlessly.
stream in a new
yes.
area.
And then he goes back to the other. Wow!
And you will also see, as I drive back into the green area, I will magically reappear on that purple server. And this obviously works on the other side as well. Let's get a couple more player join. I have a couple more QA in the back, so you can just see the whole thing running at live. Running in live with a bit more.
Wow, okay, they got indeed quite a few players.
Let me get out of this buggy.
So far there's only 2,
and you will see
but
on
more
each
than are
server
coming.
renderer which clients are currently replicated on those servers and which clients are actually authoritative on those servers. And you can see this, the green server, because it's the middle one, has most entities replicated. And then you can see this purple one at the moment only has one client replicated.
All right, here they are.
Yeah. So yes, this is pretty much
this
it.
is not no games. Not at this scale. Steep scale.
I hope you guys enjoyed this.
This is so promising.
It has been a long time to come to this point, and I just can't
Long
put in
time.
words how much
5
tech
to 6 years.
and work we had to put into this. Big shout outs to the network team, big shout outs to the online services team, big shout outs to Chris to let us doing this.
Oh, there he is. He's back.
It's been a really long journey to get to this point.
But he did not change his jacket.
And I've got to say, the team has done an amazing job. They've been working diligently for the last 4, 5 years. We've had a couple of false
it's been
starts.
long years, yeah.
We finally have an incredible, I mean, the way the replication layer works and how we can spin up servers and down and keep the state constant even if a server goes down, is, I think, a genius design.
No, it's never been done at this scale.
The first time I saw this,
on
about
an
3 weeks
MMO.
ago,
No.
working fully, I cried.
Wow, so that's new. They got
like
server
giving
meshing
birth.
working
We
3
did it.
weeks ago already.
And we wouldn't have been
Only
able
3
to
weeks
do
ago.
this and work on this kind of tech without all your support.
That's right.
100%.
Now, you guys
And your trust.
allowing us to take the time to do it right, to
Thank
really
you.
build
Thank
it.
you for
So
acknowledging
thank
us.
you
That is true.
Thank you, guys.
so much
We have
for everyone, and
been
thank
very
you everyone
patient
at
for that.
CIG that's really worked hard to deliver all this
Server meshing
amazing
is
stuff that will be
working.
either in your hands now or in your hands very soon. And this is just the beginning
Yeah,
of
just the
Citizen
beginning.
Fun. We got a lot more stuff to show you.
Yeah.
That's what we need for this
Right.
MMO, guys.
Thank you.
That's what we need.
Who is speaking? Oh, that's
Great
Benoit.
demo, by the way. That's good.
All right.
That was great. Come on, give me that.